the last 20 minutes felt like Kenilworth Road of old. I had a nice time. I enjoyed that. I just want the fun to return. And I had some fun.
Ollie gunner Kodua struck again, and from that point on, it was, can we win it? I'm not sure if I come away thinking that's a brilliant point.
You come away thinking I've got the score right.
I didn't, but it got pointed out to me that I did get the score right.
How many times have we played 10 men and got nothing, got absolutely frustrated by it? I'd love to know the statistics.
I wouldn't, because it's not good.
I think we might have all got a bit carried away with the Stockport result. I think it's just this inconsistency that is probably why there's so much frustration.
Yeah, it's an ordinary League One. I think we can safely say that in comparison to the last two, which have had 100-point winners. There's not a 100-point team in this league, I don't think. Kozia Dubry is the best player in this league. The statistics tell you that. Huge kudos to the captain for keeping the best player in the league quiet. So we're a point off the playoffs. We're 4 points off automatic promotion. We're 5 points off the top of the table. Our record against the top 10 this season, 3 wins, 1 draw, 5 defeats. Our record against teams outside the top 10, 5 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats. Now's the time to make a move. The Town finished a bounce-back week with a 1-1 draw at home to Bolton Wanderers on Saturday, and to look back on the game, I'm joined by the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe, and we have the class lead singer Callum Lee along with us for this episode. Gents, all things being equal, that was a pretty decent point on Saturday.
I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, but it's an upward sign again.
It is indeed, and we'll explain why, go through the game, and look ahead to the trophy game right after this intro. Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast. This season, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned prior to the intro, we are looking back on Luton Town 1, Bolton Wanderers 1. Actually a really good game of football for a 1-1 draw, and I've got Jimbo and we've got Callum here to do that. Gents, I suppose I should hand the floor over to you here, because once again I did the instant reaction. Let's have the guest first. Callum, what did you make of it yesterday?
First half was a bit slow from an attacking point of view from Luton. It wasn't like the Huddersfield game where we sort of peppered them as soon as we came out of the blocks on Tuesday. But second half we really did get going. I think even before they had the man sent off, I think we were in the sort of upwards trajectory in terms of going on to try and win that game. Get back into it first of all. Bit disappointing that we didn't go on to win it, because I think, what was it, 20 minutes nearly? They were down to 10 men, but there was some signs there, and the substitutes did, we've got so many great attacking options there now, and I think they came on and definitely made a difference. So, another positive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe if we'd got the actual right amount of injury time at the end of that game, we might have gone on and got it. That's two home games in succession. I've no idea where the injury time has been, what it is. What did you make of it, Jimbo? You're obviously a bit more balanced in the press box, but I thought if there was going to be a winner of the game, the longer it went on, it was only going to be Luton.
Yeah, I did too. Not for the first 20 minutes. I was thinking, oh, crikey, they are pretty as good as you said they were going to be. But after that, sort of steadied into the first half, and should have had a penalty, Stonewaller. Second half, played much better, grew into it. Even before the red card, as Callum said, we were playing pretty well. And a good goal. And although we didn't get the winner that everyone was looking for, the last 20 minutes felt like Kenilworth Road of old. So I had a nice time. I enjoyed that. If I said earlier in the season, I just want the fun to return, and I had some fun. So there we go.
That's good. It's good that you're having fun. Just the one change. I think we expected that change. Jake Richards got injured on Tuesday night. We hope that's not too bad. But of course, we've got 9-10 days now without a a league game. I wouldn't expect him to feature in the Cups too heavily anyway with an injury. Jacob Brown came in on the right-hand side. We'll talk about how that went the longer the podcast goes on, but just the one change. But you're right, Callum, with what you said. I mean, first 20 minutes in particular, we were so passive, it was untrue. I mean, they had all the space to do all they wanted within the centre of the park. Poor old George Saville was having a bit of a mare, albeit they were outnumbered in the centre of the pitch, 3 versus 2. And we just couldn't get the ball, could we? And then when we did get the ball, as I said in the instant reaction, we gave it straight back to them. So we had to work twice as hard to get hold of it again. And it wasn't long before we were behind. Good move from a Bolton perspective, but from a Luton perspective, we have to defend so much more aggressively than that. I don't really get how the guy can be that free in the box, because Mengi actually challenges him when Dempsey lays the ball out wide. But then by the time the ball comes back in the box, and they've only covered 20 yards of ground in that time, Mengi isn't even close enough to block the shot, let alone put a challenge in. It was just really poor defending from our point of view.
Yeah, I'd agree. It was soft. I mean, the guy, the attacker, got to the byline. He went rounded off in, which I was a bit disappointed with. He did, try and get back and stop the cross, but it wasn't enough. And yeah, it was just soft. It was there was no sort of aggression to get across and first of all try and win the ball when it came in, and then he just seemed to have a lot of time to turn and get his shot away. So it was disappointing, a bit schoolboy. So yeah, no, disappointing there.
Yeah, it was. What I liked about it though, Jimbo, if I do like anything about conceding a goal, is Kearley did actually ask the defenders in front of him, how is he that free? We spoke in the last podcast, didn't we, about people not shouting at people? Well, he did. He kind of said, you could literally see him in the Kenilworth end saying, how is he that free? We should just mention Josh Kearley. We've actually got his shirt on our wall. The shirt that he wore at home against Forest Green in the FA Cup. So it's nice to get our hands on that. Thanks to Josh's dad who gave that to me. So it's nice that someone's actually confident enough to ask questions of how a bloke can turn in our penalty box and still shoot with no one anywhere near him.
Yeah, well, I was questioning it as well and it wasn't the first time. It was a couple of minutes earlier, very early in the game, somebody 2-3 in the box, and I think the shot got blocked. But that can't be happening against a team that's half decent, which Bolton are, probably more than that, give them their credit. Can't be giving players that amount of space, and they got buoyed by that as well. That first effort led to the goal. They had a good 20-minute spell. The thing that was also troubling about that spell was that they seemed to break Luton's lines whenever they wanted to, easy, and nobody could get near them. Then Luton tried opposite, and they weren't getting anywhere, as well as sort of playing it around the back, but coming out from the back, some of their defenders and looking really positive. So at that stage, I was thinking, well, and when the goal went in, well, we know how this ends because that's how it has. And the good thing is that it didn't end that way. So that is another little tick mark in the positive box.
Yeah, very much so. First time this season we've conceded the first goal and got anything from the game. So that is definitely a positive, a step in the right direction. Particularly, I mean, like you say, Jimbo, pretty much the identical minute that Barnsley opened the scoring just 7 days earlier. We're all thinking it. We've seen it happen too many times. We're waiting for 2, 3 and 4 to come along. For all that they had of the ball, though, Callum, I never really thought they were scoring again. A couple of their, I mean, Jimbo's right. They could have got through had their final pass been a bit better. But Kearley didn't make another save in that first half. It wasn't like we were under siege after siege after siege of pressure. But when we were under it, it was largely from our undoing because some of our passing was just so poor in that first half.
Yeah, I'd agree with what James was saying as well. They seem to break our lines more easily than we could break their lines. Yeah, it was. I mean, some of the passing around the back. First of all, it was passive, like you've said, and that sort of goes back to what was happening in the Rotherham game. The centre halves, taking one too many touches on the ball, not being so quick with it. However, sometimes the reason for that is probably because they might be looking for that run forwards, and it didn't seem to be coming down the middle, for example. I don't think Jerry Yates was offering those sort of forward runs where we'd like him to. For whatever reason, Bramall, being Bramall like he has been doing over the past few weeks, breaking on the left-hand side, that was where we were getting our real joy. But yeah, just at the back again, it was simple passes. I think Callum Naismith and Longwick together, they were there was a spell where one of them put it into touch when neither of them were under pressure, and you don't want to see that, because you want to see obviously your back line to be organised, and they should be able to play the ball to each other, especially when you're playing three at the back. If that's the style of play that we're going to go with, if we're not able to make those simple passes, we're really going to struggle with that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, some of the passing wasn't strong enough to get to their opponent. Some of the passing was just out of reach of the opponent. It was just, we were contributing to our own downfall. But the good thing is, the longer that the half went on, we settled down. I wouldn't say we started to play, but we did get the ball forward a little bit better, and we got the ball into the areas that we needed. We got some set pieces. I mentioned in the preview that they're not a good side against set pieces, and so we proved. And you mentioned it already, Jimbo. We should have had a penalty. I've absolutely no idea how we don't get a penalty. Yates is absolutely taken out from behind. I mean, someone said that he's gone down theatrically. I don't even think he could see the tackle coming. He's got his back to the tackle. He's shielding the ball. He's going to do what Dempsey did at the other end. He's going to turn and shoot, but he's blocked off in that by an absolutely outrageous tackle, really. I can only think the reason why we're not getting these penalties is because the referee's seen our penalty record and thought, we'll save you the heartache, lads, and we'll just play on. Because Stonewall penalty Tuesday night, when Fanny was grabbed around the throat and hauled to the floor, this is equally a Stonewaller penalty. Just make the right decisions, lads, please.
Yeah, it should have been nailed on, really. There's no question about it that he gets to the ball first and the player doesn't get the ball at all. He takes Yates and down he goes. That should be a penalty. And then maybe if we get that penalty, and it's isn't it, if we score it at the moment, like you say, but that might have changed the game quicker. So yeah, and he had a good look at it, I think. And yeah, there's a big shout goes up from the crowd, and you're like, it's annoying, isn't it? Because 2 years ago we'd have had that checked, we'd have got a penalty, and now you just have to rely on some bloke that maybe ain't looking at the right thing or doesn't think that that's a foul for some particular reason. I don't know. It's that's how football used to be, didn't it? But now we're like infected by the VAR disease. We've had a taste of it, and it's a bit of hard to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted a giveaway sign that it was a penalty, the Bolton player that the ball fell to stopped playing, hence why Liam Walsh nicked in and hit the shot over the crossbar. He was waiting for the referee to give the penalty, and, well, it wasn't doing, and that was a little bit annoying. But we did grow into that half, Callum. We had the shot that Walsh had that was deflected just wide from the Kenilworth end. It looked like it was just wide. Seen it back a little bit on a replay, and it's a little bit further wide than I thought it was. But from that resulting corner, I don't know. You two tell me. I'll give my opinions later, but is it a bad miss from Jerry Yates, or is there nothing that he can do because it's blasted at him at a rate of knots?
Depends on your perspective about Jerry Yates, I suppose, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
I mean, for me, I'm in the Jerry Yates camp in that I have been disappointed with his performances so far, and obviously his goal rate. So when you're watching it live, you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, how has he missed it?" Then when you look back at it, I've watched it a few times now, and when you slow it down, it's still coming in quite quickly. You want your number 9 to be in that area, and I think he's sometimes lacked that sort of number 9 instinct to be in those sort of areas to put those tap-ins away. And that wasn't a tap-in, that was obviously it's in the tap-in sort of area, but obviously with the the speed that the ball was coming in at, I can see the argument for that he should score it because of where he is, but I can also see the argument for him not being able to score it because it's hard to adjust your position when the ball is coming that fast.
Well, I mean, it's harder to miss than it is to score, but I think it's been whacked at him and he's got no time to react to it. If he's in form or luck's going for him, then that probably goes in, doesn't it? But at the moment, it's not. Albeit he scored the goal on the Tuesday against Huddersfield, but it was a very frustrating one. And at that point, you're thinking, well, we're never going to score, are we? Because if we cannot stick it in from 2 yards, then we're not getting back in this game and we're going to lose it. But thankfully, that didn't happen.
I'm glad you was having fun. If this was what you was thinking during the game,
this was before the fun started.
Oh, right.
At this point, I was a bit, as most people were, a bit concerned about the way Bolton had started, and if we don't take those opportunities where it probably seemed like we weren't going to get that many because we weren't creating. And that's been that has been a problem throughout the season as well, open play anyway. At that point, I was a bit worried, but it got better after that.
It did, yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a great deal that Yates could have done about that. If that was at the other end and he was defending and you asked him to get it over the crossbar, he wouldn't have been able to have done it had he tried. So it's just one of those that literally cannoned off him, hit the crossbar and over it went. And it's just unfortunate because some of our play towards the end of that half did actually deserve an equalising goal, albeit Bolton were the better side in the half overall. Second half, well, no, actually, before we go on to the second half, some of the reaction at half-time was just like, why? We're well in this game. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we were the better side or anything like that, but by the time the half-time whistle came, we weren't getting outplayed. This wasn't the previous Saturday or anything like that. To be booing at half-time, again, I get it at the end of the game. I had no problem with people who did it after that shambles last Saturday after the game. But half-time when you're in the game, and it's probably even more relevant after the Thomas Frank comments on Saturday night towards Tottenham fans, which are very strong, but even so, I mean, when they're trying their hardest to get back into the game, a bit of encouragement as they went off at half-time was the order of the day. No, not booing. It wasn't a performance that stunk the place out in that first half. It was a performance where we struggled to get to grips with a very good team for 25 minutes, but when we did, we were starting to get into it. And as I say, if the first half had gone on another 10 minutes, I fully expected us to be level going in at half time. Sometimes we've just got to have a little bit of patience in the crowd. Game is 90 minutes, not 45.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't hear it so much around me in the main stand, but I did hear it. You know my views on booing, but yeah, at that stage, I don't think it was that warranted because it finished the half relatively strongly. Maybe it was about those misplaced passes and stuff like that, but I don't know. Only people out there can really tell us why perhaps they were booing at that stage. But you know, there was things that like later in the game as well, wasn't there? When they did start playing it too slowly and ponderously around the back once the player had been sent off, and so I can understand that. But then somebody, and I think it was Mengi, he played a ball forward, it went to no one, went out to touch, and people applauded it. And I just I don't quite understand the logic here. But hey, that's not for me to explain.
No, it's not. It's just, we do have to have an air of patience. These teams aren't going to roll over for us as much as we needed to. Again, had it have been a Barnsley repeat, that's a different story, but it wasn't. And at no stage was it a Barnsley repeat. So we are going to get frustrated at home, and we need to kind of curb them wherever we can because it doesn't help the players. They just go into a bit of a shell. And so we saw...
This is one of the learning things, isn't it, from everybody? If the team are having to learn and improve bit by bit, and they are, you can see that happening. And even statistically, I saw that the points per game that Jack's got after this amount of games is more than Bloomfield got. So that's improvement and stuff like that. It's not going to be all perfect all the time. There's going to have to be little bits of improvement. And I guess getting out of that mindset of being disappointed and frustrated and upset by lots of things, quite rightly so for a lot of the last 18 months, may take a bit of time to come round as well. But ultimately it's like, well, if you want your team to do well, then help them to do well. So
after its best home performance on Tuesday night as well. Yeah, that's my beef over. We'll go back to the game. I did think we were much better in the second half, Callum, but we dodged a right old bullet. Sort of 10 or 15 minutes into the half, they counter-attack, don't they? To be fair to Jerry Yates, he gets an awful lot of stick, and there's two sides of the coin, and that's absolutely fine. You're entitled to your opinion. He chases Simons from our penalty box to their penalty box, doesn't catch him, but at least makes him play the ball out wide. And then the ball comes in from the left winger, one of the double-barreled names, I can't remember which one it was, crosses over to Kozia Dubry, who for the first time gets away from Naismith, who just fell asleep at the back stick. Header from 6 yards out. I mean, if the boot's on the other foot, people are killing Jerry Yates if he doesn't score that. So therefore, he should be criticised for not putting that in the bottom corner.
Yeah, no, he definitely should have put that one away. I think I was certainly surprised in the David Priest stand to not see that one go in. I think if that had gone in, You might have even heard those boos from halftime come back. But yeah, we got away with one there. I think the first 10 minutes of the second half, again, I think we struggled again for the first 10 minutes. We weren't as good as we were in the latter stages of that second half. So maybe that was the wake up call we needed, and it shouldn't be a case that we need these wake up calls like going 1-0 down, the opposition missing chances that they should be scoring. But it certainly seemed to get something out of the team at that point, because I think from that point onwards, that's when we started really, having a bit more conviction with our passes and, zipping it about a bit quicker. So yeah, we definitely got away with one there.
Yeah, having just criticised the crowd, I suppose it's only right that I praise the crowd, because from that moment onwards, the decibels went up a bit. The referee was starting to get right on everyone's wick, wasn't he? But then even he came to our sort of favour shortly after that with a sending off. I don't think they can. Well, I say they don't think there can be any complaints. There have been from a Bolton persuasion, but if that's not a second yellow card, I don't know what is. I mean, when it happened, with the force that he flew in at him at, I thought that, and the fact that Kodua was doing a few forward rolls and making sure the gymnastics was going along, I thought he'd actually nailed him and it was a straight red card. But I've seen it back. It's not in that realms, but it's a definite second yellow card.
Well, that's what I thought live at the time, and I thought that he should go. Then I saw one replay, and it's the only replay I've seen where it didn't look like he really connected with him whatsoever. So at that point, I thought, well, maybe it's harsh. So I don't know if everyone's seen more replays than I have, and definitely meant to go off, then fine, and you've got to take your medicine there. But it's good, obviously, because that gives you a little bit of hope. But at the same time, 1-0 down, and you're thinking, well, they have only conceded 2 goals in their previous 5 that they'd gone unbeaten, and we weren't showing too many signs of again breaking them down, which is why I was so pleased that from there on in, well, even before that, we did talk about this. We were good just before the sending off, but definitely from there on in, it was just wave after wave of pressure, and the noise levels did go up. I enjoyed that. It helps. Everybody knows when the place is rocking and people can get their voices up, that it does help and it spurs you on. We've seen that when we were on the up and we were chasing teams at the end of games, whether that's to get draws or wins and getting goals. And we've seen many a late goal. So it helps. And, the goal was late. So still had a bit more time, I guess. But the fact that we got back in it, when really, how many times would you say that we'd have crumbled in that 18-month period? 2 years maybe? Not even crumbled, just absolutely failed to do anything and get anything from the game, which is where you've got to really take some positives from it, because they are a good team. You take a point out that game, and 4 points out of the last 2 games of the 3-game week kind of goes some way to making up for the defeat at Barnsley.
Yeah, indeed, they are a good side. Listen, if their loans don't get called back in January, they're going to be top 2 this season. Of that, I've absolutely no doubt. It was kind of weird, Callum, because after the sending off, I think most people would have thought, well, that's it. They're going to bunker down now and, put 2 banks of 4 in and see if we could break. For about 5 minutes, it went end to end. It was mad. And they had the chance, didn't they, where Kodua Dubry again ran away, and I think it was Long Wake, way too far away from me to see. I think it was Long Wake who flew in and blocked what was looking like it was going to be a shot.
Yeah, it was.
It was him. Yeah, I thought it was. And that was kind of it then, wasn't it? Then they thought, no, hang on, let's just sit in now and what we've got we'll take with us. We huffed and puffed, didn't we? I think we had that one that fell to Mengi that he sliced, and you was probably in more danger by the end of it than the goal. And then the goal did come, and well, first of all, I guess the important thing is the substitutions that led to the goal. Lots of people have said to me that they thought that the sub should have been made earlier. I can see it, but I can also see why they weren't. We were on top at the time of the sending off, and I think he was always worried that if we committed too soon, whilst Kodua Dubry in particular was on the pitch, that he was a counter-attacking nightmare waiting to happen, because the subs happened the very second that the 2 wingers for Bolton went off. Our 2 speedsters got themselves ready and came on. So I kind of think that's why he didn't make them any earlier. but he made them. Shaden Morris came on. Millie Ali came on. Gideon Kadir was already on. And a lovely goal, really. Credit to the referee, who, was annoying me earlier in the game, but he grew on me the longer it went on, because Liam Walsh is mullered on the edge of the box, but he plays a really, really good advantage. The ball makes its way to Shaden Morris. We've seen this move before. As soon as he stands a defender up, if you're the defender, you might as well go up the tunnel, because he is past you. It don't matter who you are, where you are, or what you are. He is past you. Ball comes over. Jerry H jumps 5 days too early, but thankfully doesn't get in the way of Millie Ali's attempt. It falls to Kadir, and you're just like, we're all just, please be composed. And actually, from that point of view, it fell to the right guy, because Kadir is composed. You think of the Forest Green game, showed composure to score the winner that day. You think of the Blackpool game, showed composure to get the equaliser for the penalty from the penalty spot, particularly in light of what we've seen from the penalty spot since then. Probably fell to the right man at the right time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Kadir, for me, I've been very impressed. He's been definitely one of the positives this season. I think every time I see him strike a ball, it always seems to be very clean as well. So yeah, it fell to the right man. I think he's one that we've had to rely on this season. Like you say, Forest Green, Blackpool, those big moments. And for such a young player, I think that's really impressive. And, he's already shown me enough signs to say, right, well, we've got a real player here. We might even, let's get him in on a permanent eventually. But it was an important goal. I would have liked the goal to come earlier. I think everyone would, because, because we were really knocking on the door at that stage. I think Bolton will be disappointed that they faded away in the game, albeit they had 10 men. But I think, like we were saying, they are a strong team, especially in this division. So they'll be disappointed that they did fade away and that we, had the ascendancy and were really on top. But yeah, we get the equaliser. I think it was a bit of a relief as well when it went in, especially you mentioned the Mengi shot. You can sort of see what Mengi's trying to do in terms of it. I think he's trying to place it because there's so many bodies in the box. But no, we eventually get the equaliser, and yeah, a good finish.
Wasn't
it? Yeah, very good. I mean, if he's the one man at the moment that you want the ball to fall to, he's it's got to be Gideon Kadir. He's got 4 now, so he's the second top goal scorer. Every single one of them has come when he's come off the bench.
You don't want that to happen too often.
No. And I asked Jack about this, and he said no, he doesn't want to be a super sub. But I mean, that's the tag he's got at the moment. That's the role he's got at the moment. It's helping the team. Every single goal he's scored, that was the earliest one he scored, 83 minutes. The other one's 2 90s and 185. So,
crazy.
Yeah, but it does offer that extra little boost when he comes on, because they've all been different as well. Like that one is he's got his positioning really well, poacher's strike, and then the one against Forest Green is harder than that looks, because that could go anywhere off your boot. He scored a header against Bradford. He's scoring all different types of goals, and looks a real asset as well. I guess the thing we want to see is him play more or do the business if he starts, and that would be the thing that he has to try and work on now. But at the moment, when you put him on off the bench, you're expecting things, and you couple that with Morris's pace. I mean, they all combined, didn't they? So in the end, it looks like a great round of substitutions to get them all on the pitch. And it said to Jerry Yates didn't get in the way. He did, because Millie Ali had the ball at him on the back, so it comes back to Millie Ali and he pokes it to Kodua. But that's fantastic when you've got a young player like that knows that if he comes on, he can affect the game, and score as many goals as he has. I mean, we've only took him 4, but we haven't scored that many.
But they're important goals as well.
Yeah,
they are
exactly.
important goals.
But apart from the Bradford one, really, where the game was gone. But at that point, you probably could have be forgiven for thinking we've got 5 minutes plus injury time, we could get something, but that was never really going to happen. But all the rest of them, been really put on goals for equalisers or winners, and so he's earning points for us. I think I hope that continues. Everybody, I think if you watch this show, I like him a lot. So, but I can understand the reasoning that Jack has for not starting him or not giving him as many minutes at the moment. But I think if he maintains that hunger and that desire to do the right things when he gets on the pitch, then it'll all come good for him in the end.
Can I just ask what was Jack's answer to that? Why he's not getting so many minutes on the pitch at the moment?
Yeah, it's just that he's a young lad and he wants him to do certain things that maybe he hasn't shown when he's played from the start. I think that's only right from Jack's point of view. He's done that for other players as well. So, that's happened with Nelson.
Yeah.
Things like that. But, he says he likes him. And I believe him. So,
I think, from listening to what Jack Wilshere has said about him, he's obviously got that bit of history where he scored that goal in the youth final. But so I think he just really does see something in him. I think maybe sees him as I think he's got a project for every player, just from listening to what Jack Wilshere talks about players like, for example, Jerry Yates and even Adebayo more recently. I think he sees things in players and he sort of wants to improve them individually, which will of course then help the team out. So yeah, I think he's definitely one that he not favours per se, but he's got that little bit of history there. So sort of
it's just this aspect of him being young and he's got in quotes lots of things still to learn, which is fair enough. But you only have to look at what Richards has done since he got in the team and taken his place. I think that's the next step, isn't it? That you can see that he can do the business when he comes on late on. Now, if he does get a starting berth, and maybe that might happen Tuesday for the Cup, we'll see, then you've got to take that chance as well, which Richards did, and that's why he was in, and which Nelson hasn't, and that's why I guess he came out. So I think it's fair from what Jack's doing, and obviously can't fit everyone in. But hopefully that's his next step of progression. He can do that.
Yeah, Ole Gunnar Kadir struck again, and from that point on, it was, can we win it? I think as soon as the ball went in the back of the net, everyone's looking at the scoreboard. How long have we got? How long have we got to win this? And we pushed and we huffed and we puffed and didn't really create a great deal. There were lots of balls going in the box. The goalkeeper was flapping, but he was getting away with it. There was one punch that went between 3 Luton players and out towards the enclosure side of the pitch that Adofin recycled. And then we had the Millie Alley chance, didn't we, where he cut inside and let fly, and that's definitely top corner bound until it flicks someone off the back of the head and goes wide. And then we had that really weird ending that everyone thought the referee had blew for full time. He hadn't. He saw the linesman flagged for offside, let Kearley take the free kick, and as soon as the ball left Kearley's foot, then he blew for full time. I'm like, it's not all about you, ref.
That's exactly what it was. It was one of those moments that you thought he's just making that about himself, because it was so frustrating. I was at the back at this point, on just watching on the way out, and you see him blow the whistle, but then I saw the linesman had his flag up, so I thought, well, I'm going to stay here because I don't think that is full time. And then for him to blow as soon as Keeley, we get ourselves set up for what we think is going to be the last attack. It's just, why'd you do that to fans? Why'd you do it to us? It's just so frustrating.
I mean, there should have been a hell of a lot more than 4 minutes anyway, with all the substitutions that were taking place. There was a red card and he took forever to traipse off as well. So he would have been well within his rights playing another 2 or 3 minutes anyway. But if you're not even going to let the free kick leave his boot, why bother with it in the first place? It's just that you just look like an idiot. You do, don't you?
His words, not mine. Yeah, it's frustrating. There should have been more minutes. There shouldn't have been 8 on Tuesday. There should have been less. There should have been more here. And so on that point of view, I can see why some people would be like me, probably quite happy with the way the game panned out and getting something from it. I can also see that you might be in the camp of, well, we should have gone and won that game. Yeah, you should have. And you could have, probably, is the better way for me to say it. But
you do have to give them credit. They defended pretty well, didn't they? We put a lot of balls in their box. Most of them, they defended really, really well. And the ones that didn't, they threw themselves in front of. That alley shot's got no divine right to be blocked, but someone's got in the way of it. The keeper definitely ain't saving it if he doesn't get in the way of it. So, I didn't come away, Callum, thinking, oh, that's 2 points dropped. I'm not sure if I come away thinking that's a brilliant point.
You come away thinking I've got the score right, is what you're thinking.
Well, that's exactly what. Well, I didn't, but it got pointed out to me that I did get the score right. I don't really know how I feel about it. I definitely don't think it was 2 points dropped, though, necessarily. I think when we go to their place last day of the season, I think we might look back on it as a decent point.
Hopefully so. I think it's just frustrating from the point that, the way that the game does pan out is they go down to 10 men, we're in the ascendancy, we have 20 minutes there, where we really do push and just not coming away with a win. I think it's from that aspect, not in terms of performance, especially that last 20 minutes. I think, you mentioned the substitutes earlier, and I think, but when you see all those attacking midfielders, that they're wingers really, these guys that come on, and you just kind of think, oh my gosh, is this just square pegs in round holes? Just so just throw on all your attackers just so we can get a goal. But then it didn't really pan out that way. It was, they were becoming a bit more, there was a bit more method to how they were trying to, get the ball into the box. I think all three substitutes were brilliant. I think Millie Ali's had a bit of a tough time at the beginning of the season where he's been a bit erratic in terms of the chances that he's had on goal. He's hitting fly from about 20, 30 yards out where maybe he could make a better pass, or, if he is going to do that, people say at least get it on target. So I think that was really impressive. Like you say, the shot that he had, I certainly feel it was on target. So if it's on target, it's going in probably. And again, Shaden Morris, beating the defender down that right hand side. And I did notice as well, there was a bit of a pattern of play where we were getting it at the back, and then we were always looking for Cohen Bramall, which we have been doing the last few games. The right back number 2 was on a yellow card at that point, so I was kind of hoping, right, let's keep going that way in terms of if we can get another man sent off here, it might help us. But yeah, it is a weird one. It's a weird feeling to think that we had all the cards at the end of the game there, but we didn't. It wasn't about finishing the job necessarily, but we did have an opportunity to obviously beat a team with 10 men. So you kind of look at it in a view there. That's disappointing, but Bolton are a good side. They look like a good outfit. And I think they might even be disappointed that, okay, they ended up with 10 men, but they probably wanted a bit more from that game as well, if they don't go down to 10 men. So, yeah, it's a weird feeling. I certainly wanted to see a win, but 4 points from the last 2 games against, I think Huddersfield were they second favourites for the title at the beginning of the season? Okay, the game isn't played on paper and it hasn't panned out that way. But yeah, 2 tough outfits to come to Kenilworth Road. And we've got a draw and a win. So
I think where I come at it from the outcome point of view is that how many times have we played 10 men and got nothing, got absolutely frustrated by it? I'd love to know the statistics of it, but
I wouldn't, because it's not good.
Yeah, the vibes and the gut feel I've got of it is that we usually we fail. So I'm looking for progression and changing little things that have gone wrong in the past and reacting to them. And that's what we've done there by getting a point where perhaps previously we wouldn't have gotten a point. And I understand perfectly fine to have that view if you think that we should have gone and won because we had a chance. But it is still progression. And I'm seeing, we had a setback, obviously, and a massive setback against Barnsley. But this week after that has been progression. Getting the equalizer scored against us with that wonderful free kick for Huddersfield and then going on to win it. We weren't doing that in days gone by. And then playing against a 10-man team and getting something from the game when as delighted as most people would have been by the red card and waving him down the pitch, I'm sure most people were thinking this could be embarrassing if 20 minutes go by and we don't manage to get something. So that's where I'm coming at it from, saying I enjoyed the end of the game. I enjoyed how we attacked it, and the outcome was more satisfactory than we've seen in a while.
You want that game to last another 10 minutes, don't you? We were really knocking on the door, and I think it is an important point. It's about progression. I think we might have all got a bit carried away with the Stockport result a few weeks ago. And I think, that's just like, that seems like overnight success because that's a 3-0 win against the side that are top of the league. And of course, it's never going to be like that. So I think, there's a frustration that how can we go from that to then Barnsley to then obviously coming back again, winning against Huddersfield and then drawing yesterday. And I think it's just this inconsistency that is probably why there's so much frustration. I think in teams gone by, especially, I mean, the last time we were in League One, we obviously we're flying, and that side, was so consistent. We went on that incredible run, and in the times that we've had more recently, when we've been successful, it's about those consistent runs we've put together, and we're not getting that at the moment. I think that's really where the frustration is well, we are seeing these different signs of progression in terms of, getting a result there where we wouldn't have previously. But I think what people want to see, I certainly want to see as well, is in terms of the performance, the consistency. I want to see those patterns of play. I want to see us breaking teams down. Well, the last time we were in League One is a great template for seeing that sort of thing. We knew what the style of play was, and even though everyone else that came up against us knew what that style of play was, we still beat those sides because we managed them to break them down because we were so good at what we did, regardless of what the opposition really threw at us. And so I think, which we should do, if we want to have aspirations of getting out of this division this season, we just need to be a bit more consistent in terms of performance and results.
We do. I don't. It's nowhere near as good a division
No.
as it was last time, and I think that this period of 4 games has shown us the division in microcosm, hasn't it? Really, and what's going on, and everyone can beat everyone. That when we went up from this division last time, we had the best 2 fullbacks, flying fullbacks in the division. We had the best strike in the division. We had the best lots in the division, and I guess maybe that may be where some of the frustration is because fans don't sense that we do have that at the moment, but they are improving. So, it's not as strong as a division as last time. And yeah, we're probably not as good a team as we were last time, but the potential is there if you keep on improving.
Yeah, it's an ordinary League One. I think we can safely say that in comparison to the last 2, which have had 100-point winners. There's not a 100-point team in this league, I don't think. Bolton may well have been it, but they didn't strike me as a 100-point team yesterday. You're both right in terms of progression, because a very similar game this season to yesterday was Cardiff, where they went 1-0 up on us, looked a pretty tasty side, had a man sent off. It was their right back on that situation, and Bloomfield had no idea how to break that down. Absolutely zero idea. I think he made three or four subs and nothing was doing. Didn't change formation, kept the same centre-backs on and everything else. This time around, we've taken the centre-back off. Okay, judging by the reaction of the substitution, I'm guessing people wanted another centre-back taken off as opposed to Longwake, but he's got his reasons for taking Longwake off. He took a centre-back off. Yes, he kept 3 at the back, just moved a Dauphin inside one, but he brought speedsters on. We didn't have none of that speed when we tried to break Cardiff down, and ultimately it was that speed that killed down the right-hand side and opened the door a little bit. What would be interesting, Jimbo, and I know someone's messaged us on social media asking about it, is whether we can utilise some of this pace down the middle as opposed to out wide. It was obvious someone put to us about doing it with Cohen Bramall. I think he's a defender who's just playing further forward, but there's no reason why someone like Gideon Kadir, with his composure in front of goal, couldn't be lively down the middle. I mean, it wouldn't be the first person we've converted to be a striker, of course. Sort of go back 20 years, Steve Howard arrived as an attacking midfielder and became one of our most potent strikers in our history. It's happened before. The person who messaged us quoted Malcolm McDonald, who is a bit before my time, but I'm led to believe that he was somewhere else on the pitch, converted into a striker. Jimmy Greaves, obviously a midfielder, converted into a striker, one of England's best ever strikers. It can happen. In light of the fact that our strikers don't seem to be scoring regularly, and don't seem to be scoring regularly enough, they're not, is an option of getting some more of these players on the pitch by playing one of them through the middle. Me personally, I'd probably see Morris going through the middle because he'd scare defenders and he would create an awful lot of space for the Fannies, for the Wilsheres and for the rest of this world. But is it possible? Is that one way of sort of getting some more of these speedsters into the team? Because as we all know, speed kills.
It does, yeah. It is an option, isn't it? And maybe we're not at that point yet because we've had this discussion about Kodua in this episode about where he could play, and at the minute he's got this role as someone coming off the bench and having an impact. But of course, that was the way he scored the goal against Forest Green. It was through the middle, wasn't it? And so, with a player like him, and he's got that sort of amount of composure in front of goal, then yeah, potentially. I mean, I think led to believe he was central midfield for West Ham youth, wasn't he? So, and a captain at that. So, yeah, there is potential there. I wouldn't say that about Bramall. I don't want him to come off that touchline. Brilliant yesterday, and he's been brilliant for a while. I love his positivity. He just looks at the defender and says, I'm going to have a go at you. You know what I think about that. I think it's brilliant. So he could stay there. But yeah, potentially there's an option there. I mean, also Brown's just come back as well. He didn't really do anything yesterday, but he's looked livelier when he's come off the bench in recent appearances. So there is options that we can use. I wouldn't say about Morris going through the middle. I see where you're coming from, but when you can see what he does on the wing to create goals, I like Bramall, I want him out there. If you can stretch that pitch, any pitch really, with Bramall and Morris running up and taking on defenders, they'll hate that. It puts that opposing team on the back foot as well. And then maybe there is more space in the middle. I'd personally like to see Liam Walsh play a bit further forward. But that would have to involve a change around, because I don't think you could have Fanny, Saville and Walsh. So it's if one of those weren't playing, but Fanny wasn't playing 2 games ago. So there's an option there as well. And also, for all the talk we gave of Lamine Fanny, it didn't really have much of an impact or much of a game yesterday either. So that will happen. He's also young, but he's doing more good things than not.
Yeah, no, he is. That's for sure. James mentioned Jacob Brown there, Callum, out wide, which is interesting because as soon as he returned, I can't remember which interview it was, but Jack definitely said he saw Jacob Brown as a number 9. With all the wide options that he had on the bench, it was interesting that he went with Brown out there. I suspect it was because of his reliability in his defensive work as much as his attacking work, but I didn't really get the feeling that we was at it with him down that right-hand side. Certainly going forward, okay, we contained them. It was the left-hand side of Bolton that created their goal. It just felt, and I know he's just coming back from injury, Jacob Brown, but it just felt like maybe he is a number 9.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I'm trying to think of certain points of the game yesterday where, Jacob Brown, he that sort of bears this sort of weight in his shoulders. Unfortunately, that he was quite an expensive player that we got in the Premier League. He's obviously struggled with injuries, so he hasn't really been able to have a run of form. So when he starts yesterday, we want him to eventually have a run of games. So it was nice to see him starting. During the game, I didn't see much that he brought to the party. Like you say, Wilshere sees him as a number 9. If he does see him like that, and obviously Jerry Yates scored on Tuesday, so you were hoping. I mean, I think I saw a headline from the Lutonian that they were like London buses and the goals were going to start to come in now. So Jerry Yates starts as your striker. So there's no, in terms of the way that we're going to play, there's no sort of room for Jacob Brown there. So it's a hard one because he is, like you say, coming back into fitness. He seems to struggle to get into the game really in terms of an attacking point of view, which is what you mentioned. So there wasn't really anything that he could go out and grab and, have a shot on goal, for example, and, take the ball and really run at defenders. So he's getting there. So I'm kind of not going to, be one of those that are going to boo him or say that he's not offering so much at the moment, but we're going to have to get there. We're going to have to manage that in terms of him getting to that level that we need him at.
Yeah, it just felt like a weird selection given the 3 wingers that were on the bench. We didn't have a striker on the bench. And okay, if Yates had got injured, I dare say Brown would have then gone through the middle like he did towards the end on Tuesday night. But I don't know, it always felt like we needed some pace on the pitch. And obviously that's in hindsight, I guess. But I don't know, I just wonder if starting one of the speedsters and bringing Brown on centre forward and then giving him a centre forward role on Tuesday night, which I presume he'll get, might have made a little bit more sense. I just didn't think he was in the game very much.
Yeah, but I think that's where we've got to get to. Like, Morris is just coming back from injury. Brown also getting a day. They're trying to build him up to be that player that can play more of a role. So perhaps we're just not there yet. You sense that they're searching around for options for the striking role anyway, don't they? And maybe it's just me, but I think it's very interesting timing that you do a video of Elijah Adebayo about to come back. It's obviously going to get everyone's hopes up, but if you really think about the time frame of the injury it had and how long it takes, it's the lower end of the scale is 9 months, and the longer end of the scale is a year. Now, when he originally did it in April, Bluefield was saying you might not see him till like the very end of the season, if at all. So that's the longer end of the scale. But that video now says, and his own words as well, if you sort of read between the lines, says that's going to be at the lower end of the scale. So maybe January time, we might be looking at seeing Adebayo. So then you've got a very busy period, admittedly, to try and work out what you can do in between then. But also, are those players that are playing always going to be playing? Or are we going to have to change it around? Are we going to see some difference there? You have to wait for Wells to get back, but I'm led to believe it's not as bad as they thought. So then, would it be Wells? Would it be Brown? Would it be Yates at the moment? Or could it be somebody else, like you're saying? Maybe Kodua, if you want to convert him. That is an area where we haven't got it right yet, but you feel like they will try and search for the option.
And Jack is, of course, still learning about what he's got, and I dare say he hasn't seen too much of Jacob Brown anyway. I just didn't think didn't think wide right. I think his strengths are better suited centrally than wide right. Might be nothing, might be something, but of course when Kodua comes on and changes the game in the way that he did, people are obviously going to ask that question. You've mentioned Cohen Bramall. He's had a weird week, hasn't he? He was man of the match the other night when he was never man of the match in a month of Sundays, and he was man of the match yesterday but didn't get the man of the match. That went to Liam Walsh. But the main thing is, from the two games, playing pretty well.
He's really come on. I really like what he's doing. Like I say, just the fact that somebody will run at a fullback like that. We were talking just a moment ago, weren't we, about having the best fullbacks in this division the last time we were here. And that's what they did. They just took them on, and it was great to see. And maybe that is a route to goals for the strikers that we haven't had, that if you can get to the byline and get it back and cut it back or get the crosses in as Morris did, that maybe that we might have more joy there. Let's say that we stick with Yates for the time being, because he's maybe the only fully fit number 9. I'd be interested to know what people want from him, because there's been many number 9s in the history of football who do absolutely nothing, but they'll score a goal. And granted, he's not doing that at the moment. But if suddenly his London bus prediction comes true and he starts scoring goals but does nothing else, is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's okay personally. I mean, we talk about press in football and the way we try and get the ball back. I think you can't just rely on one person to do that. So that would be Jerry Yates in this instance, like just the striker leading the press. You have to press as a team. So I don't really see any way that Yates has particularly impressed me in terms of his press anyway. But it would be helpful if he was just scoring those goals. The last time we were in the division, again, we had the top scorer, James Collins. He would just put the ball in the back of the net, and sometimes that is what you just need. Just put it in the back of the net, and unfortunately, he's not doing that at the moment. I think again he comes with quite a hefty fee that we signed him for in the summer. So it's a tough one. I personally would say, if it's just a case of him just scoring goals, I'd take it all day long. So yeah,
it's an interesting comparison with Collins, isn't it? Because where did Collins reside? He was a permanent resident of the 6-yard area, wasn't he? And I've not seen Yates there enough for my liking. So I can see where you might be frustrated there. But if the balls are coming in, then maybe that's where he needs to be told to be. But maybe the balls hadn't been coming in there. So we've been going left and right searching it. We've seen that many times Carlton Morris was doing that last season. Jacob Brown, I think you could say that he spent a lot far more time out wide than you'd like to see him in the middle. But if that's something that they can work on to get him in there, once they've got the full-backs or the wingers situation sorted, I think that Bramall's there, and then we just need to get Morris back fit, or whether that's Kodua or Jones when he comes back, if he comes back quickly. I think there's something to work with there, but we haven't seen it.
I think just on Bramall, I think he's just really impressed me how quickly he has come on, because we do know that he obviously didn't have a pre-season. It was really I really would have loved to see this Luton side with Cohen Bramall in there from the beginning, because it looks like he's now he's nailed down that position. Okay, we didn't have a quote unquote true left wing back, and he was the only one at the club because Alfie Doughty obviously departed. So that position was obviously crying out for him, and it was always going to be his when he did get fit. And it would just have been so great to have him at the beginning of the season, because he's a nailed on starter every week now, because that is obviously the system we're going to be using moving forwards. And he's impressing me. You know, there's not anything I've been really disappointed with in recent weeks from him. He's doing exactly what he should be doing and what we need him to do in terms of going up against his opponent, trying to beat them. And then when he does beat the player, he tends to whip the ball in. Okay, we don't have that out and out number 9. That is, going to be Jerry Yates isn't that player at all. Standing at the back post, he's just not that player. So, sometimes the crosses might come to nothing. Sometimes they do come to something because we recycle the ball, etc. But I've just got to say how impressive Cohen Bramall has been. He's definitely a nailed on starter now.
Yeah, he is. I'd love to see him start with a winger in front of him and him at left back, but I won't go back down that route just yet. But I'd love it to happen. Just on Jerry Yates, prior to yesterday, he had scored in 4 of his last 7 starts, and one of those starts, he went off at half-time with a concussion. He'd look around his dressing room and he won't find anyone else who's done that. So, for all that he's getting grief, he is still probably delivering a better output than anyone else in that position. I wasn't particularly fond, as you know, Jimbo, of what our captain had to say after last week's 5-0 win, but I was very fond of the way he kept the best player in League One quiet yesterday. And you know me, I'll always give credit where it's due, regardless of what's gone before. And I thought he's very good. Kozia Dubry is the best player in this league. The statistics tell you that. He's got the most goal contributions, he's got the most assists, the most chances created and everything else. And apart from that one where he got in front of Naismith for that header, he was anonymous in the game. And actually, that was the reason why he went off when he went off. So huge kudos to the captain for keeping the best player in the league quiet.
I thought that they kept most of the double-barreled names in that team quiet, didn't they? That they did look dangerous on the counter. You can understand why they were wary of the transition. And you've spoken about that, about the subs and the timing of the subs. I think Jack did explain that way after the game as well.
We hadn't spoken about that in training. Normally, I just left it be this time. I trust him now.
I'm still waiting for this proof, mate. I don't know. I'm still waiting for it. Videos or it didn't happen.
Listen, he invited me to training on your very video. Can't have much more proof than that, mate.
Yeah. I don't know. You be the judge. No, but yeah. I think that defensively, while Bolton had that good period in the first half, a lot of it was in front of the Luton defence. They didn't get behind too many times. I guess the one time they did, and was it Kozia Dubry that should have scored that header? I mean, it was hard again. Like Yates, I think that was harder to miss because he was in front of goal and he headed it wide. So we got let off the hook there. And there was that one bit of snake hips he gave Naismith, but Longwake mopped it up. But other than that, I thought that they were reasonably comfortable. Now, well, obviously we can concede goals, conceded one in this game, but hopefully they can keep it down to 1s and not 5s, and build confidence that way.
Credit to Naismith for keeping him quiet.
Yeah, I think so. I was surprised at how quiet we did keep some of those players in the Bolton side. There wasn't really many times, especially in the first half, because that's mainly where I saw them attacking from where I sit. And yeah, like you said, it was all in front of the Luton defence. And the only one real moment that I can recall, like I say, getting behind was that header. So that's impressive from a defensive point of view. I think, again, another player that's impressed me, again, in recent weeks is Longwick, because I feel I do feel sorry for him, because he's pushed around. I think he's played in nearly every position in the back 5 this season. And I feel he looks most comfortable in the middle of that back 3, which he was yesterday and on Tuesday. So again, impressive for him. the only real blemish to his performance was that silly period in the middle of the first half where him and Naismith just couldn't, find each other with the basic passing, which we've already touched on. So yeah, I was impressed in terms of keeping those danger men quiet, because that's what you need to do if they're gonna if they're gonna score. It's going to be through those guys, and yeah, like you say, we kept them quiet.
Yep, speedster like Cozy Dubry up against Naismith, who's not the fastest. Feared the worst in that particular battle, but Naismith had the better of it. And well done to him. Yeah, you're absolutely right about Longwake. Or what the hell we were doing messing around with him at right wing back and right back and all that other nonsense at the start of the season, when arguably you could argue that he's one of the best two centre-halves that we've got right now. Based on the performances of the last two games, I've no idea, but that was the previous manager, not this one, so we don't need to dwell on that. But are we at a situation where one of these centre-halves can go now? Because he is quick, he is aggressive, he is good, he can play on the right side of a left footer, and we've been speaking throughout this podcast that we want to get a speedster on the pitch. One of the ways to do it is dumping the centre-half, go into a back four and getting a speedster on the pitch.
Yes, we've had this debate many a times, isn't it, about how we can do that. That is an option. I would say probably not against, and we've seen now Stockport and the Bolton game as sort of a small amount of evidence of this. When you come up against a side who are pretty good at the present time, when you go and play them, that he matched up with Stockport, but then he's like given that extra cover against those players that you were talking about, the speedsters. But then you come up against other teams, and we're going to come up against them for a while now in this busy period that are lower down the table. Maybe that is an option that you can take that safety latch off a little bit more and open it up to more attacking play. I personally would like to see that, see how it works out. It's another one of these things where he's going to have to, figure out what's best for those scenarios. But so far, he's sort of, meeting the challenge for most of the games. All but I don't think we can really hold the Mansfield game to blame for him anything. But it's just that Barnsley one, isn't it? Really, so far, really, there's been bits and pieces in most games that you can look to are quite positive.
Yeah, there is. That's a nice segue, actually, Jimbo, because the bigger picture is then, Callum, that we stay a point behind Bolton, who were the last team in the playoffs. And when you consider in these 18 games, I think most people would say we've only been what we'd expect to see from a Luton team, 3, 4, 5 at most in those games. We're a point off the playoffs. We're 4 points off automatic promotion. We're 5 points off the top of the table. And our next 7 games are against teams outside the top 10 in the table. Okay, the Wycombe one, they probably will be top 10 by the time we play them because they're on a good run of form. But even so, our record against the top 10 this season, 3 wins, 1 draw, 5 defeats. Our record against teams outside the top 10, 5 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats. Now's the time to make a move.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I touched on it earlier on in terms of that consistency. We want to see that consistency in performances and results. This is now where really we want to go on a run. In terms of what you're talking about, in terms of maybe changing the style of play or the formation to get those speedsters on, we've got 2 cup games before that run of league games come on, so maybe we can do that then. But we really need to, press on with these next 7 games. Like you say, if we want to prove that we're going to be up there at the end of the season, we've got to be beating the teams that are lower than us in the table. And it's an interesting point to be in this season, that now we find ourselves, like you say, only 5 points off the top. If we can, assert ourselves, get a real run behind us, we could be. I'm not saying we could be top at the end of that run, but we'd be doing ourselves, a big favour if we can, get the results against those lesser favourable sides.
Yeah, whether we're top or not, Jimbo, we won't be 7th. I mean, if we go on a, 5 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat run, and there'll be a defeat in there, the schedule over Christmas is absolutely stupid. Whoever thought 3rd and 4th tier footballers can play that regularly without there being a drop-off, I've no idea, but there will be a defeat somewhere in that 7. Let's hope there isn't, but I think we should allow for one. But if we can get, say, 5 wins, a draw and a defeat, that's 16 points. Going to be much higher up the table when the likes of Stevenage, Lincoln come to town in January. If Stevenage come to town, hopefully we win Saturday and they don't bother, but,
It's remarkable, isn't it? If people have the perception of it not being a very good season so far, and I can understand where you're coming from that, but to be only 5 points off the top of the table so far and not really have had that run. We've had a good run, but they've been peppered by cup games, hasn't it? And that's going to happen in the next 2 games, obviously. But so we need to transfer that 5-game run into a 5-game run in the league. But if we can, and the opportunity is before us there statistically, as you've said, then yeah, we could start to move into that area where people are a bit more comfortable. And I think if we are in the playoff positions, or it'd be nice if we're in the automatic positions. But if we're in those positions, maybe that eases people's views a bit more, because that's where we should be. Promotion, as we've heard from the top, promotion's the goal, automatic promotion, but we take playoffs. So maybe that changes if you get into that position. But at the moment, we've just got to get in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's perception, isn't it? I'm sure inside the camp, they think we're having a good season. We're 7th. They'll know we haven't played brilliantly for much of the season, but we're 7th. And as I just said, 5 points off the leaders. Cardiff, who've lost Ruben Colwill, who absolutely looked a star down here for 3 months now due to injury. So you would imagine that they're going to flatten out in much the same way Stockport have done without their talisman. But what they haven't done, they haven't delivered an entertaining season. The entertainment hasn't been there at all, apart from 2 or 3 games. Been better this last week, of course. And obviously we're paying for entertainment as much as we're paying for results, and they're playing for results over entertainment. So it's a perception of where you are, sort of thing. But all things being equal, 18 games into the season, so after them 7 games, 25 games into the season, that's the time where the table won't be lying. So if we are in and around the top 2, which if we can go on a run now, we will be, because they're all going to play each other, I presume. If we're playing the teams below us, the teams above us are going to play each other. Indeed, they're going to do that this weekend coming, because Cardiff play Huddersfield whilst everyone else is messing around in the FA Cup. So, we're going to be there or thereabouts. You mentioned cup games. Just before we wrap this podcast, or just before we start speaking about your band, Callum, let's quickly touch on this trophy game. We're not going to go full detail into this. Once we've got, if we're still in the competition after this round, maybe we'll take it a bit more seriously, because there isn't so many league games around the remainder of that competition. But Jack's already said that he's going to make lots and lots of changes over this week, because squad players deserve time, and that's fine. And based on what we saw coming off the bench yesterday, don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. You mentioned a minute ago that we could play a back 4. I don't think we will. I think we'll stick with a back 3 in this Exeter game. Maybe if we do change, we'll change it Saturday. Who would you like to see on Tuesday night, and who are you looking forward to seeing most?
I think, like we said, I think it's time for Gideon Kodua to maybe choose why he deserves a starting berth. I think that has been his issue. You mentioned it this season, where he's really impressed coming off the bench, but then the next game where he does find himself starting, he just doesn't seem to, carry that form that he ends the game in. So hopefully we see him. Shaden Morris again, trying to build his minutes up. And again, I'd like to see Millie Ali as well. He's a player that I've really enjoyed watching him. You talk about the entertainment factor. I've really enjoyed watching him since he's joined since last January, and I feel like he was coming under a lot of pressure from Luton fans because of some decisions that he wasn't choosing wisely. Hopefully, I mean, you guys might have a bit more knowledge on injury updates, but I would like to see Jake Richards. But if it's a case of we have to keep him in bubble wrap until the league fixtures come around again, that's absolutely fine by me. So I think all 3 of the substitutes, I'd like to see them maybe having a starting role.
Possible for Fleetwood, but unlikely for Tuesday, I'm led to believe, with Richards. But I think even if he was fit, it would have been the same thing. I know it's his former club, but you're going to play them twice in the league, Jake, so we're all good. Big night for 2 people in particular, Jimbo, Krista Makosso and Zach Nelson.
Yeah, because we've not seen Chris for a very long time. So yeah, I think he'll come back in. When he's come in and he's performed, though, I think the bigger one is for Zach, because when he was given that opportunity, Barnsley, I mean, the whole team were bad.
Yeah.
So we're not putting this on Zach Nelson. The whole team were bad. But it just isn't falling for him, is it? Because, let's say that he was given his opportunity against Huddersfield and we played pretty well, maybe it would be a different story. So it's. I think there's sort of a turning point needs to happen for him at some point because Richards is ahead of him. I think you could even say Kodua's ahead of him, but they're not necessarily the same position, although we don't really know what Zach's best position is so far. But he's got, if he gets a chance, he's got to take it, because that's what's happening for, let's say, Richards. If you compare the two players, I know Richards is younger, but they're both youngsters. Richards has just taken his opportunity, and now everybody views him as a starter. And that hasn't happened for Zach. His last good game where he really made a difference was Burton, wasn't it, a while ago?
Where he played as an 8, whereas obviously at Barnsley he played from the left wing. I think we can scrap that out on his list of positions, but he certainly looked at an 8. No, we're not going to score predictions, as I say, we're not going to take this seriously, but let's have a quick sort of guess of the team. I mean, Shea will be in goal. I think we can safely say that. Keeley will be back in goal for the FA Cup game, I'd imagine. If we go with a back three, are we looking at something like Evans, Anderson and Makosso?
Yeah, potentially. Also, to throw into the mix, Jack said that Ruwalt was...
He's coming in at right wing back in a minute. We haven't got that far yet. Call your Jets. Call your Jets. That as a back three?
Say again, sorry.
Evans, Mads Anderson, Makosso.
I think it's great that Evans got his chance in this competition. So that again, is Chigozie, is he out on loan or is he still in and around the
He's still in the squad.
Okay.
Led to believe, just speaking to one or two people at the Trust AGM on Thursday night, that they're a little bit worried about an injury that he might have.
Right. Okay, because he's one that I would have liked to see again. I think, I'd forgotten about when you asked me the question. Obviously, Zach Nelson, Chris Makosso have been on the outside of the squad. As long as Makosso's at centre half, I'll be happy. I don't want to see him at right back or right wing back. I don't know. Again, that was under the last manager, wasn't it? So we'll forget about that. It would be great to see some of those players that have got a point to prove, and for them to prove it. Obviously, it's this competition is what it is these days in terms of having under 21s, but this competition will always have a special place in my heart. I kind of want us to take it as seriously as we can, albeit using it as an opportunity to use the squad that we have, because we have got such a great squad. I think we also do forget that at times. We have, there's a reason why we were talked up so much before the start of the season, because of that great squad depth that we've got. So we've got a chance to use it, and for those players to show, why people have been talking so highly about the squad.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. 4 wins from Wembley ultimately in this competition now, and who wouldn't want a little trip down Wembley way? It's never fared too bad for us in recent times. Wing backs, I think we're going to see Joe Johnson and Rue Waters. I think they'll be the 2 wing backs. I think you'll have 2 pivots, defensive midfielders, whatever you want to call them, of Nakamba and Nelson. And then I think you'll have a front 3 in some way, shape or form of Morris, Bode and Nordos. I think that'll be something close to your starting 11, and then he might have a couple of senior players on the bench and a couple more youngsters like Harry Fox and things like that. And I think that'll be roughly where we're at with regards to Exeter.
Well, I think it'll be very interesting for Bode and Nordos in particular, because we've not seen them at all. Well, I did see Nordos yesterday. He was sat up in behind me with a coat on. So
I saw him in the fan zone, and there was an awful queue of people wanting his autograph. So he's a popular lad.
Was that autographs or questions as to why he's not being involved?
Oh, I wasn't close. I wasn't close enough to find out. I was too busy supping away in that marquee. But it could have been both.
Well, I think it'd be pretty telling, because if he isn't in the side or isn't in the squad even, then I think that will tell you a lot about where he is in Jack's thinking.
Yeah, no, that's true. It might not be Nordos who starts. It might be Brown who starts, but I suspect Brown will start the FA Cup game as opposed to the trophy game. I really do think he'll give all of the squad players a go in the trophy, because we've got that Leyton Orient game the Tuesday night after the FA Cup game. So lots and lots of games coming up. If you are going on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. kickoff for that one. If you're not going, you can't make it. Like me, I can't make it. I was going to take my nieces. One of them's got a school Christmas party. I said, well, you can miss the school Christmas party. She said, no, we're getting jelly and ice cream. Well, I knew where I was then. I weren't getting getting the football on a freezing cold night after that. But yeah, no, if you are going 7 p.m, if you're not going, it's on Sky Sports Plus, as all of the Vertu Trophy games are, and hopefully we can pick up 3 points and be in the hat for the last 16, which I'm led to believe is still southern side. So you should be able to get a good view on who we might get in the next round. That is pretty much it for the football part of this podcast. But I haven't done the score predictions, and this is going to take a while, Jimbo, because there were plenty of them. As you've already pointed out, I was one of them. 11 of you got this score right on Saturday. Holliston Hatter, T. Watts, LTFC, Chris McKnight, 7164, Phil Clark, LTFC, Soulful Hatter, Steph Ball, 6011, Tom Mollett, 300, I told you there were loads, Phil Oliver, 5118, M1 Jammed, Andy Watts, 285, and Mark Hennihan, 3955. You all got the correct score. Well done to all of you. You'll all get 3 points on the leaderboard, which will be on the Trust website probably by the middle of this week. I've got a few things to do early this week. I'll get that up to you. By the time that we get the Fleetwood preview out to you, that will be on the Trust website. Callum, it's been great to talk football to you, but we haven't just got you on to talk football. We've got you on because you're lead singer of a band, and the band have got a concert in town a week from today, this coming Saturday.
Yeah, that's correct. I just want to say thanks again, guys, for having me on and for giving me and the rest of the band the platform to talk about the band and the gig. So we've got another gig at the Castle this Saturday. It's our sort of end of year gig that we're going to do. This will be the last gig before the end of the year. Great that it's at the Castle. Great guys there, as James well knows. Great guys that have been so supportive of us and also other local bands. So it's great to be playing there again. We always have great fun at the Castle. Great fun at those gigs. So yeah, we'll be just going playing the songs that were on our EP that we released earlier in the year. Which if some of the watchers and listeners remember, that's the last time I was on the podcast. So we've had great fun throughout the year playing gigs, playing those songs, doing the sort of the fun we can have with it on social media, etc. So it'll be a nice way to round off the year, sort of a reflective look back on what a great year it's been for the band and how much fun we've had. And hopefully we can see loads of our friends, family, Luton Town supporters, and anyone else who wants to come down, and we can have a right old good time. Yeah.
Tickets still available?
Tickets are still available. I'm sure you guys will put them in the links, etc. But the tickets are still available. They're available. You can follow the links in the class social media outlets as well. Come down. You're sure to have a good night. I can tell you that.
Bang that in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. You played that. They had an outdoor concert as well.
Yeah.
I don't think the Castle arranged it with some help from other people, which might be a sort of sign of things to come. How did that go?
That was brilliant. And again, that's big props to the Castle. I think the Castle basically asked to curate that particular gig. So it was in Market Hill, just outside of the Castle, and the council put it on, asked the Castle to help them out, and it was just fantastic. It was it was in the sort of middle of September, so it was getting to those sort of colder nights. So it'd be fantastic to see something like that again next year in the summer, perhaps. But that was great. It was us, Blame Caesar, Missing the Ferry, some other great local artists. And it was just great to see, people in the town centre, having a good time, open air concert. It was something really cool for us as a band, because we've never done anything like that either. Especially again, we're a Luton-based band. It's great to do something like that in Luton. So that was fantastic, and hopefully we can see some more of those events and some more artists getting that platform, especially where that area is in Market Hill. I just think it was a fantastic spot, and hopefully we can see more events like that to come.
And if you saw Missing the Ferry play with the class then, so you can come to Callum's gig at the weekend in the Castle. But if you saw Missing the Ferry as well, they're going to do a Christmas show for Vandalism Begins at Home, which is the outfit I'm involved with as well. So our Christmas show at the Castle, December the 13th, Missing the Ferry headline. And if you think that they ain't going to play Pogue's The Fairy Tale of New York, got another thing coming.
Yeah, that's after the Port Vale game. Callum's gig is after the Fleetwood game. For those that are going to Fleetwood and won't make the gig, Callum, where can people catch up on all of the music?
So we are on Spotify. Just look for The Class. Our EP is called First Class. We're also on Instagram. We're at The Class _band. Again, I'm sure hopefully you guys will put them in the show notes. Yeah, we're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're also on TikTok. You'll see a few TikToks go out in the lead up to this gig. I've got to say, hopefully my skills in the sort of music realm are much better than my acting skills, because yeah, I've had to sort of sacrifice some pride there for the things that we have to do these days to, you know, grab people's attention, etc. But yeah, so we're on social media.
Good stuff. Well done on a good year, and looking forward to everything in 2026.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it for this episode of the podcast. Thank you to everyone who came up to me yesterday at the game. Loads of you did. And also those of you at the Trust AGM on Thursday night. Again, lots of you mentioned how you listen to the podcast, watch the podcast, and most importantly, enjoy the podcast. And we really, really do appreciate that, because it's you guys that we do it for, Jimbo.
Yes, it is.
And yeah, if you do see me at a game or Jimbo, do pop up to us, and we're always handy for a chat and love to hear your thoughts on the podcast as always. Thanks, Callum, for coming on. Really appreciate your input to this. You're going to join us for the Fleetwood preview later in the week as well, so look forward to having you on for that. But thanks for coming on this podcast.
No, thanks again, guys. Honestly, fantastic that we get this sort of platform to promote the stuff. So really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. More than happy to promote local artists, local sports people, and local anything really. So yeah, congratulations on a great year, mate. Thanks also to the folks at Marsh House, the proud new home of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, and to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music. Apologies that we've run slightly over to what we normally do, but the trophy game on Tuesday is not getting a full preview, and you've got another week before we get, or most of the week before you get that Fleetwood preview out. Until then, from Jimbo, Callum, and myself, that's much more like it, Town. Keep up this momentum, please. Come on, you Atters.